December 1979, the Soviet Politburo, concerned by instability in Afghanistan, made a fateful decision: a swift, decisive military intervention.
Codenamed Operation Storm 333, the plan called for an airborne assault on Kabul and a massive ground invasion across the Amu Darya River. On December 25th, Soviet transport aircraft began landing at Kabul International Airport, an immediate influx of airborne troops. These vanguard units, primarily from the 103rd Guards Airborne Division, secured key installations: the airport, communication centers, government buildings. Simultaneously, Soviet Special Forces, the Muslim Battalion, prepared for their primary objective, Tajbeg Palace. On the evening of December 27th, under cover of darkness and heavy bombardment, the assault began, a swift, brutal attack. Inside, Afghan President Hafizullah Amin and his guards fought desperately. Within hours, the palace was secured, Amin dead. With Kabul under control, the vast ground forces of the 40th Army surged across the Amu Darya from Termez, Uzbekistan, into Afghanistan. Pontoon bridges, built by Soviet engineers, stretched across the river. Thousands of tanks, armored personnel carriers, and supply trucks followed. This was a logistical operation of immense scale. The objective? Establish a formidable military presence across the country. Columns of T-62 tanks and BMP-1 infantry fighting vehicles advanced along key highways, often unopposed. The speed of the invasion surprised international observers. Moscow proclaimed it an act of fraternal assistance. Bobrak Karmal, flown in from exile, was installed as the new Afghan leader, broadcast from a Soviet radio station in Termez. By early January 1980, the deployment was in full swing. Entire divisions moved into strategic positions. In Kabul, the Soviet presence became visible everywhere. Soldiers patrolled streets, guarding government buildings. Barracks were quickly established, often repurposing existing Afghan army facilities or setting up tent cities. Heavy artillery pieces, like the D-30 howitzer, were positioned to secure vital areas around the capital and major cities. Helicopters, primarily Mi-8s and Mi-24 Hinds, became a constant feature of the Afghan sky, ferrying troops and providing air support. The logistical tail stretched for hundreds of kilometers, securing supply lines against the mountainous terrain. Key cities like Kandahar, Herat, and Mazar-e-Sharif also saw substantial Soviet garrisons quickly established. Engineers worked tirelessly to improve roads and construct new airfields, essential for sustained operations. Soviet military advisors, already present, transitioned into command roles, integrating with the new Afghan government's forces. Propaganda efforts began. Posters featuring Bobrak Karmal and Soviet-Afghan friendship appeared across Kabul. Soviet newsreels depicted smiling soldiers interacting with Afghan children, presenting an image of benevolent assistance. But beneath the surface, a sense of unease settled. The promises of a short, decisive intervention began to fray. The 40th Army had achieved its initial objectives with remarkable speed. Afghanistan was now firmly under Soviet military control. Yet the very act of liberation had ignited a fierce, widespread resistance among the Afghan people. By February 1980, the first reports of skirmishes outside urban centers began to emerge. Patrolling became dangerous. The assumption of a swift victory, a quick withdrawal, was already proving tragically optimistic. The mountainous terrain, familiar to Afghans, became an adversary for the mechanized Soviet forces. The Soviet Army found itself not just occupying, but also fighting to maintain control of vast, hostile territories. The world reacted with condemnation. The Moscow Olympics faced a massive boycott. But within Afghanistan, the conflict was just beginning to intensify. Local militias coalesced into organized resistance.
What began as a strategic intervention quickly devolved into a brutal counterinsurgency. The Soviet presence, meant to stabilize, instead destabilized the entire region, drawing new powers into the conflict. The images from Soviet film units, initially portraying triumph, would soon capture the grim reality of a protracted war. The rapid deployment of late 1979 and early 1980 marked the start of a decade-long entanglement. A decision that would leave an indelible mark on Afghanistan, the Soviet Union, and the course of Cold War history.